the mixologist as the new welcomist, lab instruments in bars. Un fuerte aplauso para Dave Arnold, por favor. Woo, 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 woo. This is Dave. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize that I don't speak Spanish or Catalan, and so I'll have to do this in English. I'm going to try to speak slowly, or more slowly than I normally do. I'm not going to talk just about laboratory equipment in bars, but just kind of new equipment in bars in general. So, is this a laser pointer? So this is basically first of all, one of the biggest trends I think in bars nowadays, regardless of what you're interested in, is trying to make your own ingredients in bars, because it allows your bar to become more unique, more different, to have your own ingredients. It's more of a change than, let's say, just changing the mixture from one spirit to another. So these three tools are tools that aren't really laboratory equipment, but I think that every bar should have to try to change their game, and most bars do. This is a VitaPrep, which is a high-speed blender. This is much more common in the United States than it is here in Europe because they cost too much here. Here you would use a Thermomix or equivalent, but this is one of the most useful pieces of equipment. I don't use it at the bar itself because it's very, very loud. But we use this every day to make our products. This is another kind of juicer called a masticating juicer, a champion juicer, and we use this constantly. These are the two pieces of equipment that I think everyone, even if you're not using a lot of new techniques, make juices, and I think a lot of people are. This last one is a whipped cream maker. You call it a siphon here in Spanish, and most of you might know this product for making foams, which is one of the things that Ferran Adrià became famous for doing. But I use it for something different. It turns out that when you take this relatively inexpensive thing and you put the nitrous oxide into it, you can infuse flavors very, very rapidly. So you can do these intense, rapid flavor infusions. You can also, if you need to, in a pinch, you can carbonate something in it. So it's incredibly versatile to have around the bar. It looks good, and it allows you to do lots of cool things like rapid infusion and carbonation if you need to. The next thing that's not really lab is kind of new use of ingredients. So we're using very small amounts of certain ingredients. This is an eyedropper that we use to put salt solution into drinks. So almost all of our drinks have 1 or 2 drops of salt in them, and that salt just really rounds out the character. So this is kind of a new way to add flavor to drinks. I'm trying to get that. There we go. Another thing we're using, and this is the way, not necessarily from a lab, but the way that a lab person might think, is to use things like acids to either adjust the character of your drink or the flavor of your drink. So this one is ascorbic acid. Ascorbic acid is vitamin C. So if you are making a drink, like let's say you're using apples, manzana, and your apples are turning brown after you juice them, instead of adding a bunch of lemon juice, you can just add a pinch of ascorbic acid to your drinks. I also use a lot of culinary acids like citric acid, which is the acid from lemons, malic acid, which is the acid from apples, to adjust the acidity of my drinks. And so these are very simple new techniques that any bartender can use to reduce the amount of waste, to increase the flavor, and just to make a better, more repeatable, more interesting drink. Okay, another thing I think that we're taking care of is we're using science to try to figure out, we're using laboratory-style experiments to try to figure out how to optimize the ice we use when we're making drinks. So this is just showing a test. And you notice how on the left-hand side, these are daiquiris, which is my favorite rum drink. This daiquiri is 2 2 parts rum, 3/4 part simple syrup, 3/4 part lime juice, lime the green one, not lemon, lime, and a little bit of salt. And you notice how the texture on the left side is much nicer than the texture on the right side. See the foam on the top of that? And that's because we are shaking with a big ice cube along with a couple small ones for dilution. So we run a lot of tests, laboratory tests, to try to figure out how to optimize standard bar techniques. And so it's really something that's allowed us to take our cocktail game up. And now that we've done that, and we used a lot of fancy equipment to do the tests, but now that we've done that, it doesn't require any more technique to use that knowledge. Okay, now on to the actual laboratory and weird equipment. There we go. Oh, okay. So the most important piece of laboratory equipment for bars, without any shadow of a doubt, is the centrifuge. So there are various kinds of centrifuges. These are 3 of the centrifuges that I have owned over the years, trying to figure out one that worked for bars. So this one is incredibly dangerous. You never buy an old centrifuge off of eBay. This one is way too big. It would not fit in any bar, and it also didn't spin that much. Right now, this is kind of the magic number. This is at 3 liters. So this centrifuge can spin 3 liters of product in about 15 minutes. And it's amazing. I use it to, I'll show you some stuff I do with it. But first of all, I must say, because these slides, I'm not so good at organizing them. The problem with that centrifuge is it's way too big, and it's also way too expensive. That thing costs new about 8,000 euros. So it's pretty expensive. So one of the things I'm working on is I'm trying to develop a centrifuge that is not a laboratory centrifuge, but is one for a bar. So this is a prototype of a bar centrifuge that I'm building, and you can see that it's only about this big, and it's going to cost only like 800 euros. So this shows you some things you can do with a centrifuge. So this is strawberries. And orange that I've spun out in this and made a strawberry orange cocktail. And this is another similar fruit that those are made with whole fruits and liquors where you just spin them and out comes these beautiful, clear, non-gloppy, very, very pure tastes. So that's one of the things a centrifuge allows you to do. Another piece of laboratory equipment that some people at bars are using is this. It's called a rotary evaporator. And what this allows you to do is do distillations at very, very low temperatures. So you put your product in here. Let's say you're doing rum. Let's say rum and some herbs. And you heat it, but at a very low temperature, very gentle, almost room temperature. You then, as you heat it, you put a vacuum on it. That causes it to boil at room temperature. The vapors go up, hit the cold thing, which is blue, and recondense down here into the green thing. And this is the pure distilled essence of flavor that you get in a rotary evaporator. And this is an older style one where you can see the flow of the vapors as they go up and down in the coil. Rotary evaporator, I don't think is going to become super popular in bars because all of this glassware is extremely expensive. It's also difficult to use, and most of the results people get aren't that good because they're actually losing a lot of flavor here. So one thing I did was build a pump that attaches onto the rotary evaporator that allows you to pump the distillate out as you're making it, so you can actually taste it as you're making it. I then can do things like this, where I break up the distillation. So you see I have a rig here where I'm breaking up my distillation into parts. So this is lemongrass in vodka, and I broke the entire distillation up into 28 parts and then tasted them separately and could mix the flavors in any order I wanted. Another thing that we steal from the lab that I love is liquid nitrogen, and I have some here. And this stuff is amazing. I love having this around the bar. So it's like, it's just, first of all, it's kind of just miraculous material. It's just mesmerizing. I've used it for years and years, and I'm never tired of it. Hold on a sec, I got to put it up here. I got to put it here so I don't get feedback. So the reason I love this at bars is, and I saw there's a thing over here that does some of the same things called Cool Cup over there. Check it out. I haven't checked it out yet. But one of the things I love about liquid nitrogen is you store it in things like a coffee cup, like coffee thermos, and then it's just sitting on your bar for hours. And basically, I can go through a whole service and just fill my thermos 2 or 3 times. So one of the things we do is we chill glasses. So this is the Giona, this is this coupe. Now this is not the ideal shape for chilling, because you see how it goes out like this? So watch, as I do this, the liquid nitrogen comes up over the edge. It works, right? Right, and look at this, when you chill this way, you get a perfect chill around the outside of the glass. The bottom of the glass is not cold. It's dead silent. It's super cheap. It takes about, in the US anyway, it's about 10 cents a glass to chill it. But what you want to do is get a glass that has a recurve like this. Then you can really swirl like this. Get a real swirl on and nothing comes out. And you look like a super badass, right? Going like this. And then you go like this and you have this perfectly chilled glass like this. And people really love it. The customers love it. And it's technically a very perfectly chilled glass because the inside is very cold, but the outside is not so cold that it's going to stick to your lips, and the bottom doesn't leave any condensation on your bar top. So it's just a really good way to chill glasses. You want to be careful when you're doing it. You don't want to chill glasses like this. This is another one of the Gionas, but any glass that has a thick base like this, you're going to get a stress fracture. So you only want to chill glasses that are kind of meant to do that. Aside from, and by the way, you see this? This is the tanks we use. They're about this big. Our bar used one of those tanks a week and cost us about $125. So we went through about $125 of liquid nitrogen every week, and we used it constantly. And we didn't have to have a glass freezer to keep our glasses cold. This is another technique we do. So we use liquid nitrogen to freeze herbs and smash them very fine. And when you do that, it's a technique we call nitro muddling. When you do this, this herb doesn't get all black and swampy tasting. And you get to have drinks that look like this. And we make them like this, like that. And we make, back one. And we make them a la minute at the bar per order. And the fresh, bright color you get from that is really from the use of liquid nitrogen. If you're going to get liquid nitrogen for your bar, I mean, even though I'm very nonchalant with it and I don't wear gloves, there is some safety issues that you should be aware of. And so you should only start using liquid nitrogen once you talk to someone who knows what they're doing, unless that person tells you to wear gloves. If they tell you that, they are wrong. Find someone else to teach you liquid nitrogen safety. I will tell you a secret. If you learn liquid nitrogen safety from a biochemist lab person who has to go in and get samples of frozen like eggs or semen all day long, they don't use gloves and they know how to do it. If you talk to a mechanical engineering person, they will get it wrong. So find yourself a good biology lab person to talk to. Another thing I like to do at the bar is forced carbonation. So again, this is not technically lab stuff, but it's new equipment. So most places in the United States already have CO2 tanks, the carbon dioxide tanks behind the bar. And then these fittings are extremely cheap. This is called a carbonator cap, and it fits on top of a regular soda bottle, and it allows you to force carbonate your drinks. So I'll show you the technique here. So this is, in pictures, this is the technique of how it's done. So this is an Italian Amaro that we made a soda and we carbonated up. But this is all it takes to recarbonate it. And once you start carbonating like this, I think you'll learn that carbonation itself is an ingredient not to be ignored. So for instance, if you're making gin and tonic, let's say, the best thing to do is to combine all of your ingredients and then recarbonate it right before you serve it, such that all of the ingredients are fully carbonated. And it just adds, I think, another dimension to it. And I think that might be it. This is just a quick overview of new techniques. Yes, of new equipment or new things that we use behind the bar on a daily basis. Yeah, and if you need any more like info in particular, you could look. I have a book called Liquid Intelligence. You can look at get any of those techniques in full. But that's a general overview of new equipment in the bar. And it's all stuff that we used every day for 5 years in service. Nothing that is like weird or different. And I think you'll also see that at least the one drink I showed you is not crazy. I'm not using these techniques to do things that are crazy or weird or presentation based. So anyway, that's it. Any questions? Did you understand? Was I slow enough? All right. Normally I speak about 3 times as fast as that, so hopefully it was slow enough. Nothing? Nothing? All right. Thank you so much to the Barcelona Rum Conference.